It is Tuesday, everyone. Welcome into the News 10 Plus Desk. I am Taylor Gattoni with the Nicole Buckman from Studio 10.
Hello, hello.
Hello, how you doing?
It's Tuesday. It's great.
It's Tuesday.
Yes. Woo-hoo.
We're making our way through the week, slowly but surely.
Yes. It's going to be a great Tuesday, especially here on Studio 10. We are kicking things off with German American Heritage Month.
Ooh, there you go.
Fun fact, my name obviously is Nicole Buckman, but in German it's Nicole Buchman. A little bit of
I can't make that noise. I've tried before. It doesn't
I know, I think I
sound
tried
nice.
it too much today that I have a little bit of phlegm, but I need to work on it because we have the Liederkranz Club joining us. They're the German club here in Lansing, and they'll be having fun with us, telling me a little bit how you can celebrate, especially this weekend when they have a dinner and dance kind of thing going on. Yeah, and it's really cool because this German club is one of the, this is the oldest ethnic club in Michigan.
Wow.
It's been going on for 155 years.
Oh, look at them. Good job.
No. So I'm excited to learn more about the German American traditions, how you can celebrate at home even if you aren't German. So it's going to be a lot of fun. And maybe we'll polka or two. No, polka's more Polish, but they do have some polkas in Germany as well.
Anytime I hear polka, I think of Home Alone.
Oh.
Polka.
Yes. Good one. But yeah, so we have that going on as well as, downtown, there's always so many fun events happening, especially around Halloween. And they're a local place called Capital Hippie, which is a business that obviously has a lot of cute tie-dye clothes. They're hosting for the second year in a row. It's called Scare on the Square.
Ooh, I like the name.
Yeah, so it's happening this weekend, and it's great because it brings in all these local businesses to come together and have a lot of fun, musicians, all of that ahead of Halloween. So definitely.
Halloween's coming up very soon.
Yes. So definitely come if you dare. But we'll have those details. But it's just great that a local business that I remember when they were like in the middle, the micro market that they have in downtown Lansing, and now they have their own storefront, and now they're putting on events.
And that's the power of those like mini markets, the farmers markets. You can help get them a storefront.
Yeah, that's the importance of supporting local. So we have that going on for you today, as well as, we always have our friends from Life Plan Financial Design come in and talk a little bit about why now is a good time to start looking at retirement, and getting that in your thoughts, especially, and what I like about Mike is that he comes in and he talks to us a little bit about from like our, from the perspective of people that, they're thinking about it, but it's not like happening right now. But then he also gives great advice for people that are like, they're ready to retire, but like, and are still looking for a plan to go through.
Yeah, so he hits on the different stages.
Yeah, and then this one is talking a little bit about income and what you need to know. So very, very helpful there. And then of course it's Tuesday, which means it Takes Me Home Tuesday. Woo-hoo. We have an animal from the Capital Area Humane Society joining us to see what Forever Home can go in there. And then Rochelle actually found a local author who wrote a chapter book, kind of like similar to In the Same Land of Peter Pan, Neverland and all of that. So it's kind of interesting. It's a little bit more of a chapter book. I know we feature a lot of children's book authors, but this one is growing on the bestsellers list. So she's getting up there, and it's great to support local once again. So we'll hear from her and talking a little bit about the themes in her book.
Well, there you go. Wow, I feel like you just unpacked a lot right there.
I know. Well, that's the power of Studio 10. Yes, but so definitely tune in at 3. And we have a new feature on Studio 10 today. So if you like riddles, and you at home are like, sometimes when we have like those trivia games and you're like, oh my gosh, I wish Nicole or Rochelle would know the answer to this. Tune in, because there's a way that you can text us the answers.
Oh,
yes. So we're going to ask a riddle, and then you have to text us the answer, and we'll let you know if it's right or wrong, right on air.
I like that. All right.
Definitely pay attention with your phone.
There you go. And that's coming. Oh, yeah, careful there. Oh, Nicole, shake it off before Studio 10. And Well, Studio 10 is coming up at 3 o'clock per usual. And that's actually in a little over 50 minutes here. But if you want to rewatch anything, if you can't make Studio 10 today, you can always check out their socials at WILX Studio 10. Here's their YouTube page, always a great place to go as well. Again, if you want to pass a link on forward to anyone, if you want them to see all the great things that Studio 10 is covering, go to at WILX Studio 10 for all of that fun stuff. Justin, you're joining us now at the News 10 Plus desk, and we have a little bit more fun weather. Not so much rain. It is still cool out, but we're seeing some sun.
Yeah, at least it's dry, right? We're seeing a little bit of blue sky start to poke out this afternoon. Kind of like yesterday, a little longer to get rid of these clouds, but I think this evening we'll get a little sun out. And tomorrow we see more of the sun, especially early in the day. And we also break a 12-day streak, including today, when we get to tomorrow, which is having numbers below normal. We've had a lot of that lately, a lot of days in the 50s, and we do still have a lot of days in the 50s in the next 6 or 7. But tomorrow we get to the 60s, and we haven't done that in a little bit, and so that'll be good to have that back here in mid-October.
Oh yeah, very excited. And I know something that you like to do before all the rain comes. So you like to lawn mow, get all of that out of the way because you're a new homeowner.
Of course, yeah, and for folks who certainly have had homes a while, who have been used to this, before big rain comes, you like to get that done so that once the rain comes, regrows everything, of course. And I think we're going to get into one of those gloomy patterns again Thursday, Friday, and even early Saturday, where it's a little bit wet outside. And so, especially if you have those Thursday, Friday yard pickups, you want to do that today and tomorrow. Tomorrow, a really nice day for it, to be honest, with a little sun and 60s returning to the area. And so that, I think, is the best chance tomorrow to get things done. But even today, it's dry out there, so can't complain too much about the weather.
And even though you might want to enjoy all of that warmer weather and that sun, hey, you can still be outside and be productive.
Yeah, both of those things for sure. The forecast, once again, like we're talking about, has got a couple days in the 60s, even though only one tomorrow and then back to the 50s for a few. But next week's looking good now, and so we're going to look at all that here in our view of the forecast.
Oh, yeah. Well, first we're going to go outside to our Jackson sky cam where it's kind of cloudy over there.
Yeah, a little bit, and that's kind of been the case over most of mid-Michigan all day. It's, again, one of those days where it's tough to shake the clouds. This time of year, we know that around the Great Lakes, it tends to get cloudy and stay that way most days. So any opportunities of the sunshine, we love to have those, and anytime we get into the 60s this late in the year is good, too. That's what our average high is today, but before the week's done, it'll be in the upper 50s, and we'll keep going down all the way until January from there as far as averages go. We are at 51 in Jackson, but you notice the wind is only 3 miles per hour, and so we're really not dealing with the breeze today that we have for most of the past few days across mid-Michigan. You also notice that outside we're seeing a few more breaks in the clouds over US 127. Still pretty cloudy, but I think the best cam that shows at least some blue sky right now happens to be in Mason, which is our newest Meridian Company Skycam network camera, and that's over Keene's store looking towards the Ingham County Courthouse north and east. Now, it's nice to see a little bit of that blue sky. We'd love to have a lot more of it, and I think by this evening, a bit more of that creeps in. Now, the lows started in the 40s today, and so that's an improvement from the 30s we've had as of late, and I think tonight a lot will be a little cooler around the area, but we are in the mid-50s in Marshall, low 50s elsewhere, including Lansing, Charlotte, and Hillsdale, as well as Jackson, which we just saw. And again, those numbers, as we go throughout the rest of our day, generally going to get into those mid-50s and skate down the other way. We're already at 53, so the models here seem to be a little behind, but I think 54, 55 degrees before the peak heating stops and we go the other direction this evening. And so satellite and radar has showed the thick clouds this morning, but there are a few breaks here and there, and you see where one of those little clear spots happens to be over Mason right now, which is where you saw a bit of the blue sky creeping in, but everybody else is staying underneath those clouds. The good news is we are also dry, as any of the showers seem to be coming off of Lake Ontario well to our east, off that direction into upstate New York and the Finger Lakes area. Aside from that, pretty dry weather over the Great Lakes, just hanging on to clouds, which have been stubborn lately, but as I mentioned, we'll get back into a little sun tomorrow. So the hour by hour shows that here. There are those mid-50s highs creeping in, and if we bust open some sun, southern areas including Jackson, Hillsdale, Coldwater could get into the upper 50s in a few spots, but we'll all go back near 40 overnight. A few spots may dip briefly into the upper 30s tomorrow right as the sun's coming up. After that, we'll get back into the 60s, which again, we have not done in a while, and so this is nice tomorrow afternoon, especially if we have a little bit of sun creeping in here or there. I think we have a little more sun early tomorrow as opposed to late when it starts to cloud back up. Those clouds are all drifting in ahead of our next system, which is going to work in heading into Thursday. Now, I think the showers hold off till well after midnight Wednesday night, so any Wednesday evening plans should be dry. Even if you see in a forecast that Wednesday night there are some late showers. Those are going to be long after everybody goes to sleep. There'll be more into Thursday morning. We start the day, as you see here, in the 50s on Thursday, and so we don't even go down into those 40s, let alone Thursday, but I think most most folks will maybe cap out in the upper 50s to near 60. We'll have scattered showers throughout the day. Probably a midday break in the rain. It's not going to rain all day on Thursday, but it'll be another one of those days you want to have the umbrella close by, because showers are going to continue not only through Thursday, but even out into our Friday time frame as well. So that's kind of what we're looking at here. And so the 10-day shows it. Wednesday, pick day of the week, 62, the forecast high. A few folks may get a degree or two warmer than that. Thursday, still not far from 60, but the average high Thursday is about 58, 59. And so we're still right at or around normal on Thursday. We'll go back below it for the weekend, but I do think the showers, again, are out of here Saturday morning. That leaves to a dry afternoon, even though numbers are only in the low 50s. Dry weather late October. We'll take it for the big Michigan State-Michigan football game, which I think will be a closer game than most think. But, it's remains to be seen. It's at Spartan Stadium. It's at 7:30 p.m., and you can watch it right here on TV 10. And so that's something fun we have going this weekend. We hope, of course, you'll join us not only for that game, but for our newscasts as well, to bring you the latest up-to-date information on everything news, sports, weather, and a whole lot more. One other thing I want to mention before we get out of here is the 10-day forecast next week. Extended version here has got us out, even though we barely get to 50 on Sunday. And notice that overnight low, 33, dipping dangerously close to that freezing mark out there. So I think Sunday night most certainly is a night we will deal with some frost across the area, if not a hard freeze. And so that's what we'll be watching, keeping a close eye. Some models want to take numbers down in a few rural locations into the upper 20s on Sunday night. And so we will get that little burst of cooler air. However, even the lows by the end of this 10-day are in the upper 50s, and so numbers creep back up. And Wednesday, mid 60s, maybe a few upper 60s, depending on how the pattern goes. That's obviously 9 days out, but if we do have the system that's going to be working this way take a little more northerly track, it'll do nothing but drag in warmer air. It's not out of the question somebody could get maybe close to 70 by middle of next week, but that remains to be seen. We, of course, could have the opposite goes south, and if that happens, we might not even make it to 60 next week. And so right now the models generally agree with us at least getting well into the 60s on Tuesday and Wednesday, so something we'll keep an eye on, but that'll also bring in some late week systems. So if you're one of those people who has either Thursdays or Fridays off, or those are your free evenings to do things, we're sorry that these last couple weeks it seems we get the rain late in the week, we don't get it early in the week. I think that's kind of the pattern we seem to be stuck in once again here, where it's Thursday through Saturday rain. That'll probably shape up the following week as well, which is in the final couple days of October here. In fact, really, once we get too far beyond the 10-day, we're going to be talking about getting into November, as the next Monday after the Monday on the 10-day, if you're following what I'm saying here. Once we get past that Thursday into that Monday, that's the 30th, I believe, of October, and that following Tuesday is Halloween. And so
fast.
We're going to be getting into November. When we do that, average highs are only in the low to mid-50s at the start of the month. They end the month in the upper 30s to low 40s for averages. And so we are heading into that territory pretty soon here, where we're going to get cooler weather. And I do think the long-range outlook, which we'll talk more about in First at 4 later on when we show you the graphics there, is going to bring back some cooler air. So behind those 60s you see next week, I think we are going to go back those final few days of October and early November, probably to high temperatures that are only in the 40s, and overnight lows pretty close to the freezing mark as well. And so we're going to settle on one of those cooler patterns once again, kind of like we've been dealing with lately, but even colder, because we're going to be a couple weeks removed from now. And so that's where we're headed. The good news, again, is that we do have a few 60s, as opposed to we've pretty much spent most of the past 10 to 12 days in the 50s on a lot of the days. And so we at least get a few of those 60s back, which is certainly nice to see.
Yeah, you'll have to take it. Ooh, my voice, I apologize. You'll have to take advantage of all of that.
Yeah, you got to, of course. Anytime, like we said, if you get to 60 from this point onward the rest of the year, those days are gifts, because we know there are going to be plenty more days that are colder than that. In fact, most of them will be. And so that's certainly something that's good to have. In fact, we can go ahead and move the 10-day forward here to show you the trend and where we should be at. Again, average high normally pretty close to 60 degrees. And so you kind of can see and visualize a little better here the rise and fall of those temps. Again, tomorrow back in the low 60s, and we are going to follow that slow cooling trend through the weekend, barely to 50 on Sunday, but we jump pretty sharply next week too. So even though Monday next week is a lot like yesterday was, The Tuesday to follow is even warmer. The Wednesday after that, of course, is going to be our warm day in the forecast. And then the system moves in late week to try cooling us off slowly once again. And I think that dip is probably going to be a sharper dip than the one coming up into this weekend, too, as I mentioned. And so going to be a bit of that up and down, the kind of roller coaster-ish trend. So take advantage of the 60-degree days. As of right now, I got 4 of them in the 10-day. That's a lot better than we've been the last 2 weeks. So we'll take it.
We will take it. And if anything does change, there's always a great tool to have on your phone. It is the First Alert Weather app.
Yeah, and it's absolutely free once again. We've got it here to show you all the different features that you get, in addition to all of the daily video updates, everything else that we get from our First Alert Weather team here. We also have real-time hour-by-hour forecasts, daily radar, temperature updates of all kinds. These videos, once again, are updated so regularly throughout the day by our fine team of meteorologists. Working alongside me, we got 3 of the best in the business between Andy, Colton, and Darren, and that's all, once again, free. All you got to do...
Hey, don't forget about yourself.
Oh, well, I do the best I can. We try to round out the nice team here, but we're all very proud of the work we do. We really take a lot of pride and care in the forecast. We see people out and around mid-Michigan all the time, whether I'm at the store, out anywhere. I always appreciate folks stopping, saying hello. We always just try to bring you the best forecast, and I never mind taking questions from folks either. I'll be getting the soup aisle, getting some chicken noodle for my wife, and people stop in and say something. So always happy to say hello, anything like that. And, we are always happy to provide what we believe the most accurate forecast and up-to-date in mid-Michigan. First Alert Weather app's a great tool to do it. It's absolutely free once again, and so that's great to have there.
Yes, there you go. Thank you, Justin. Again, a great tool to have. And you guys always do such a great job with this. So I always go on, I check that one, and sometimes just to see the accuracy, not for you guys, of course, but for the other apps, like the iPhone app, and sometimes, like, this one's not right at all. But First Alert Weather app, I'm like, it's so in-depth, like, I can look at the radar, I can look at the hour by hour. There's so many different tools or resources you have on that tool. So.
Yeah, you just get a lot more in-depth. And so if you really want to understand the forecast and what's going on, sometimes, you glance when there's quiet weather at the iPhone app, it's good enough, right? But when you're talking about the major changes and even the small details for certain areas, those are all completely entirely computer-driven. It's not actually a human putting those in. It's all computer-based model forecasts. We follow models as guidance when we do our First Alert forecast here, but then we manually go in and adjust those numbers. And so the forecasts you're seeing on the app are what we have output into the system. And so you know that it's something we have actually looked at using the knowledge, of which we have plenty. Both Darren and Andy have been here a very long time. Certainly folks at home can attest to that. And then Colton and I have been here a while too, and we've sort of learned and been able to be mentored by those guys. And so they've helped us understand some of the little nitpicky things about forecasting for mid-Michigan, which is a very difficult task sometimes. And so that's something that we all, again, take a lot of pride in. And it's something that we work to and strive to make the best. And so hopefully people are getting a lot of use out of that First Alert Weather app, which, once again, a great tool. I use it even when I leave the area and I'm in other parts, not only of the state, but around the country.
Yeah.
I use it there as well. When I went to Banff with my wife back in July, I used it while I was there, off in Canada at Lake Louise and Moraine Lake and all those. And it was very accurate, very helpful to have.
Well, let me say, I think I told you a little while back, I took a meteorology class back in college. Loved it. But it kind of lost me a little bit because it's so in-depth and there's a lot to know, of course, about Mother Nature and her changing conditions. So you guys take all of this really complex knowledge and you help break it down where you can understand it better. There are times, though, where I'm like, can I get more in-depth? And you guys start pulling out these equations and all these different vocabulary terms, and I'm like, okay. This is why you guys do such a great job on air and online and, on the app.
And at times, we sometimes will delve into that a little bit in some of our weathercasts, some of our newscasts, because, and to us, it's fun to nerd out a little bit when it comes to that. But a lot of it, usually not something that most people, you want to know if it's going to rain or if it's going to do this. You don't need me to explain as much in depth, but we try to, throw that out there. And for a lot of people, like you said, very fascinating, very interesting subject, too. A lot of people love, make weather kind of a hobby of theirs, and so it's cool to be able to share some of those things.
There you go. All right. Well, anything else you want to add about the weather, Justin?
That's about it. Just enjoy tomorrow. Like I said, pick day of the week before the rain gets here. The weekend's a little cooler, but hey, next week might have another stretch of maybe even slightly warmer weather than we've got tomorrow.
All right, we're looking forward to it. Something else we're looking forward to is what's coming up during First at 4 and our 90 minutes of news today, starting with Mid-Michigan Matters. The Michigan Department of Health and Human Services is coming in to talk about Get Set Up. And what this is It's a little partnership, a program for older adults. It's a virtual service, and so we'll teach you more about the programs that they have with that. Coming up on News 10 at 5, learn more about a statewide program that helps homeowners with delinquent property taxes, mortgage payments, land contract payments, and utilities. All of that fun stuff. I put that in air quotes. But yes, you want to know all about this. So we'll have more of that coming up on News 10 at 5. News 10 at 5:30. Actually, before I say that, Justin, do you have anything to say on that? You're a homeowner.
Well, I will take any help I can get with anything. So I think that's important information, obviously, for everybody to keep an eye on. I'll be someone who's watching it myself.
Well, there you go. All right, News 10 at 5. Yeah. News 10 at 5:30. As open enrollment nears, we share what to look out for when it comes to Medicare scams. I feel like there's a lot of scams going around right now, those robocalls, and it's not just calls, it's text, email, regular mail. So look out for those Medicare scams, and we'll tell you how coming up on News 10 at 5:30. News 10 at 6, we have an update after a 26-year-old Ingham County man was arrested after allegedly driving drunk with 2 young children in the car. A lot more details coming up on News 10 at 6. We do have our reporters out in the field. We have 5 of them out there today, so we're going to send it to them to see what they have coming up.
Thanks, Taylor. Fair housing should not be a matter of going through hurdles. That's what millions of Michiganders with criminal backgrounds are fighting for. I'm Deanna Giles, and I spoke with people who shared their story and their battle with securing housing. I'll have that story on News 10 at 5. Justin?
I was down in downtown Owasso earlier today. Around the Kerwood Castle, they're doing a renovation on one of the buildings, creating the Kerwood Place. Now, this is going to bring some apartment buildings as well as some extra income into the downtown area. I'll have more on that story coming up for you guys later on in our 90 Minutes of News.
Thanks, Justin. Michigan State University released a 25-page report saying that their response to the mass shooting was appropriate, timely, and correct. I'm here on campus today seeing how students feel about that. Find out more coming up on News 10 at 6. For now, over to you, Mars.
Thanks, Tanaya. Mars Anderson here in Logan Square, one of the many locations where gun violence has occurred in the city of Lansing. Governor Whitmer and the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services are encouraging individuals and organizations to apply for community violence intervention grants. I had the opportunity to speak with an individual who talks about his mission and how these could help. I'll have more on that in our 90 Minutes of News. I'm going to toss it over to Aaron.
I'm Erin Bowling, and today I'm at Michigan State Capitol to talk about AED laws in the state of Michigan. Right now, Michigan schools are not required to have AEDs in the building. Earlier today, I spoke with some advocates and lawmakers who are working to increase the survival rate for sudden cardiac arrest. I'll have what changes they're looking to make on News 10 at 6. Taylor, back to you at the desk.
All right, thank you, Deanna, Tanaya, Justin, Mars, and Aaron for sharing what you have coming up during our 90 Minutes of News. Following Aaron's little tease right there, we do want to talk about our Make an Impact campaign, which is helping the Champions of the Heart nonprofit foundation. Again, with Michigan State University, former assistant coach Mike Garland, he started Champions of the Heart with his wife Cynthia after he went into cardiac arrest just last year. And Emmerich actually did a wonderful story on him. I'm sure you remember watching that. Super impactful.
I watched it several times.
Yeah, all of us were like, oh my goodness. He was pronounced dead for 18 minutes. And 2 Good Samaritans helped save his life. And I would keep going. However, we have a little video to help show you how you can help us make an impact this Thursday on News 10 with a phone bank and some donations.
Hey Mike, it's been over 40 years you and I have been together, but you have now taken on a foundation that maybe is your best accomplishment ever. Tell me a little bit about it.
Absolutely, Tom. And first of all, me and Cynthia really appreciate your support in what we're trying to do to save more lives by getting more hands on hearts. And it's so important that we get the word out that lives can be saved if we have enough hands to get on hearts to get those victims through that 4-minute timely segment that they have to have someone there to actually start their heart up again like I had those 2 guys.
Well, you're a walking miracle if you ask me, and I'm so thankful for the men that saved you. But I'm really thankful now that, like you've done my entire life with you, You're trying to make sure other people get help like you get help. And I'm just proud of you. I'm proud of Cynthia. A lot of people hide behind that. You've stepped forward. You've told your story. And now you want results on how we can make this world a better place.
Well, Tom, what I'm doing, I'm following your lead. And it's been all about people ever since I've been here coaching with you. And you know what? That's what we're doing with this foundation.
Well, I got a feeling there's another national championship right around the corner, and it's the championship of the Heart Foundation that you started.
All right, again, Champions of the Heart, that is what we're doing or helping with for our Make an Impact campaign this Thursday on News 10 for the Champions of the Heart nonprofit foundation. If you want to learn more, go to championsoftheheart.net. That is where you can find everything, the mission, and you can also find the story that Ann Emmerich did on Mike Garland a year ago, again, talking about the two good Samaritans, great Samaritans, we'll say, helping him with the CPR and AED, and that's why they're really striving for that CPR and AED training to really help those when they do go into cardiac emergency. You are saving lives. That's how important it is. So, again, championsoftheheart.net, and this Thursday, 2 days from now, you can help us make an impact here on News 10 with that phone bank, and you can give us calls. We'll have volunteers answering the phones, and you can help them out. I do want to share one more thing before we wrap up here on the News 10 Plus desk. It is our You're Not Alone mental health series. You can go ahead and scan that QR code on the right side of your screen. A list of resources will pop up from various counties around our mid-Michigan area: Shiawassee, Lenawee, Ionia, Ingham, Eaton. I believe I'm missing a few, but if you go scan that QR code, you will see what I mean. Pull it up. A list of resources, whether it's counseling, psychology, family behavioral, anything of the sort, whether it's you, someone else you may know, or maybe even a stranger, know that you're not alone. There are resources out there for you, and people care about you. Another thing that you can do, hey, maybe if your emotional well-being is a little shaken up, you can call 988. That is the Lifeline chat. Again, that number is 988. We thank you so much for joining us on the News 10 Plus desk today on this Tuesday. We hope you get outside and enjoy these warmer days. I know it's getting kind of cold because we're in the fall season. It's only going to get colder as we continue on, but as Justin said, we'll have some warm patches here and there. So continue to stay alert with the First Alert Weather app. Studio 10 is coming up in a half hour, so there you go. You can find Justin Bradford on there as well for any weather updates, and then followed by First at 4. So have a great Tuesday, everyone.